Hi guys, welcome. Namaskar, swagate. Hoje Garden, ciao mão, olá, seja bem-vindo, marhaban, marhaban, salama, dertan, hello, welcome. Akwaba, all that I'm trying to say is welcome. You're welcome to Netcode-Hub channel. So this channel facilitates a lot of projects and lessons for .NET, Blazor, that is a Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server application, and also .NET Maui application. So check the playlist and we have a lot of lessons over there and projects as well. You can subscribe to the channel. Now this video at the end, if you think it's okay to you, give me a thumbs up. Alright, so let's go to today's topic. And today we're going to talk about cascading drop-down list. How do you create a drop-down list? So as you can see from the screen, I have my Visual Studio 2022 launched. And we have to create a new project. So create .NET Maui app. And now give it a name. So I'm going to say demo. And cascading drop-down. So yeah, cascading drop-down. Let me add the list to make it complete. It's too long, but don't mind. So cascading drop-down list project. Now click on next, and the version that we want to use, or the framework that you want to use here, it is 7.0. So let's create the project here. So after this project gets created, we are going to install some NuGet packages because those are the packages that we're going to use. So we have to create folders that we're going to use for our project. So let's right click and add models folder. So this is models. Aside from that, we have to add view models and also views. So view models. And the last one, let's have a view. So you have views. So I am sure we are going to derive services. So let's add one folder for service. So new folder, and I rename it as services. Okay, and I have that already. The first package that you need to install is community2kit.mvvm. So you have to install that. And also you have to install refactored.mvvm helpers. So let's go in there and I'll create a service first. So right click on the service folder. And now in here, let's create an interface. And now let's make it as countries. So this country service. And now this country service, we want to have two methods. The first one is to get a list of countries, and the second one is to get a list of cities. So let's make here as public. And now in here, the first one is task. We're going to have a list of country. So we're going to create a country model. And we say get countries. And also we have to create cities. So let's make this, and now a list of, so a list of city. And this is going to be get cities. Okay. So we have these two methods. Now what we have to do is let's create a model. But before that, we have to go in there and create our service. So let's create our service, and this is going to be country service. So this could be, this is supposed to be country service. So let's edit that. So country service. Now this service has to inherit from iCountry service. So control period, let's implement the interface. So we have this. So the first one is to get a list of country or cities, and the next one is what is the country and that's the cities. Let's create our models first. So I click on the models folder and now let's add country. So you want to have this is public, and now in here you want to have, so you want to have ID. So this is integer and this is ID, so country ID. And this you're going to have country name. So this must be string. This is the only thing that you want to have, country name and country ID. Now let's create another one for city. So add a new class, and now this is city. So with this, we're going to have city name. So public. So you're going to have this an ID, and you're going to have country ID. So here it is country ID. So the type here, the type is going to be integer. Then we're going to have city name, right? So you're going to have this string, and then this is going to be name. So we have a country ID and also city name here. So let's save this. And now the country will save that. Now let's go back to the country service. And now let's inject the models. The interface too, we do same. Now this is solved. So we can clear this. Okay. Now when we go to this country service, this is what we are going to do. So here we're going to grab a list of countries here. So first of all, let's create, we say countries. So list of countries, and now we say countries is equal to this. So here we can specify let's open bracket like this. So equal to, so we have new country. And now in here, we're going to specify an ID of 1, and we can have name. So with this, let's use Ghana, and also, so new country, then the ID here, it is 2. Now let's specify the name, Nigeria. So we have these two lists. Okay. So as you can see from here, let me open it like this. And now let's return tags from results. Let's return this country. So you want to have only 2 lists of countries here. Now let's go to cities. So we're going to create So a list of city. Now the first one, we have new city, and in here we have ID is equal to 1. Then we have name. So let's say we have Kumasi, and country ID is equal to 1. That is Ghana. We can create a new one. So we have name, and this name we have Cape Coast, and the next one. So I'm going to go offline and try to add some cities, and I'll come back. So the ID here, it is 1. All right, so I am back, and now there's the data that I have. So I have just countries, 2 countries with cities over here, and we have 2 cities for Nigeria, and we have the rest are for Ghana, because that's who I am. So I know the cities, some of the cities over here. Okay, now let's use this in the picker. That is a drop-down list in Maui application. So these are service. Okay, so let's go to our view model, and now we have to create a view model here. So we have a model already, we have a service now done, and let's go to the view model, and now let's create a class. And now since you're going to use for the main page, we give it a name which relates to the main page as main page. So main page view model. And now this view model is going to inherit from observable objects. So observable objects. And now, so it is inheriting from this namespace. So I would like to just cut this and now use it here, because we're going to have this an exception when you try to use this collection and also the MVVM. Both has the helper has observable object, whilst the MVVM also has it. So let's be specific which observable object that we want to use. So let's create constructor in here, and in here let's create our observable collection. So we can talk about public, and here we are using observable range. So observable, and now we're going to use range collection, and this is country, and now we say countries. So countries, then we have our get and set is equal to new. Now let's include this model. We can grab same and now use for our city. So let's paste this. So here will be city, and this will be cities. Okay, now let's call a method here. So load countries. So control period. Let's create a method for this load country, and in here let's inject our service. So I country service. Then we call this service control period. Let's create an assigned field so we can use. So it's a way of initializing this. Now in here we now have this service, so we can say that var countries is equal to, okay, so we have it already. So this dot country services dot get countries. So we now assign, so we check if countries, so if country is, I like to use is now, then we want to return. So then return, else let's check if this countries dot count is greater than 0, then we want to clear it. So let's clear, and that's going to be countries.clear. After doing that, then we say countries dot add range. So add range, and now we are going to call this countries. So let's see. Now this is getting from, it is saying I cannot convert from this. So let's have an await. And yeah, so this is solved now. Okay, so we have the countries here. Now let's register this service in the Maui program.cs file. So in here, we say builder.services.add, let's use singleton. So we're going to use, instead of this iLogger factory, we're going to say iCountry service. Then we have the country service too. We do same, so let's grab this. And now let's paste this. And also, so here we are going to use main page view model. And now here we're going to use main page. Main page. So after doing this, let's go to the main page, code behind file, and now we have to register the view model to it. So you can just comment this. And now in here, we say main page view model. Then let's bind the context. So binding context is equal to main page view model. Now let's go to the main page, and now here must be public partial class. Okay, so now we are done with the list. Let's go to the main page, and now let's add the drop down list, that is a picker. So I'm going to highlight, I'm going to clear all this, and now here let's include the link, or that's the namespace for the view model. So clr-namespace. Then we're going to use demo.viewModels. So you can specify x data type as viewModel.mainPageViewModel. Okay. So we have this vertical stack layout, and let's have maybe margin as 50. So in here, okay, so in here we're going to use the picker, and so picker, and now with this picker we have to specify the item source. So let's say the item source, and now let's bind this. So we bind this to countries. Let's save this, and then let's run this application. So I'm going to choose and let's run this. So the app is now launched. Now you see we have this bar over here, but when we click on this bar, see what happens. We have the two list models here. As you can see, we have two countries, Ghana and Nigeria, and you can see we have this name. So we have to specify the name. And now when we go to the main page.xaml file, with a picker view, we can talk about title. So we can add title here, and let's say select country. Aside from that, we can also talk about item display binding. Now, item display binding tells you, or you are telling the control which property name that you want to set. So you say item display binding, and now we are binding this to. So here is going to be name. So because when you check the countries model, you see we have name here, and that's exactly what we are doing here. So we have the name specified here. So let's run the application and see. Let's refresh it. So you can see that from here we have it select country, and as soon as I click on it, you see we have the two lists here. So if I click on Ghana, I have the Ghana selected. Now if I click on, I can have Nigeria also selected. So that is a way of using this. That's a picker. But let's talk about one thing. You see we have two things here. We have two models. The first one is a country, and the second one is a city. We want to also have, so let's copy and make let's copy this and make a copy, and now we paste it here. So let's have spacing to 50. So in the view, we have to get something like this. And now this is not going to be country, rather it's going to be city. So you must have the country and the city. Whoa, okay, country and city. But you can't select city whereby country is selected. So you want to cascade it, you want to restrict it to when country is selected. So we can talk about binding. So how do you bind this? Let's go to the view model and create an object here. So let's say this is private, and now we say this is country. So country, and now we say country or selected country. Okay, so we have this. Now after having this selected country, here we could have used the observable property on top, but we want to, as soon as we get the value selected, we want to initialize another method. So here, the observable property might not help us. So let's specify like this, public, let's do it ourselves. So public, then we can have this as selected country. Okay, so that's going to be a public country. Then we have our selected country. Now in this, we're going to have get and set accessor. So we have get, and now this get, it's mapped to the selected country. And now with the set, we can set this to the value. So let's open it here. And let's say selected item. If it is not equal to null, then you want to set the item as the selected item is equal to value. Okay. Now with this, we're going to have the item selected. From as soon as the user types, we're going to have the item selected. Now to get this item, let's create a simple method here. That is public display item. So this is going to be void. So display item. And now in here, you're going to use shell.current.display alert. And this is selected item. And you're going to pass in selected item or selected country dot name. Then we're going to have a button of OK. So let's copy this model or this method name. And now as soon as the value here changes, we want to call this method. So let's save this. And now in the main page here, let's bind it. So you have this, the country list, and here we can talk about selected item. And now we are going to bind this item to selected item. So that is selected country. This country is a public object from this main page view model. So this one, you can just copy this and you go in there and I'll paste it here. Let's save this. Let's refresh the application. So now let's select country and see. So the name of the country that we select, it must pop up and we have the same country. So if I select Nigeria, we must have the Nigeria selected. So this means that our public property that we created is activated or is working. Now the next thing to do here is we want to set this. So we can disable this. And now we set it. So let's go to, let's set is, we can set is enable property and we can bind this to. So binding, we can talk about is, so is city picker enabled. So let's make it a city enabled. So that is what we are going to use to handle that. Now let's copy this and let's go to our main page view model. So in here we have to create a public property. So let's use underscore for this, and that is bool. And on top of this, you want to set up observable property like this. So when this is called, so initially when this starts, you can see we have this main page view model, and that is the constructor. So you want to, as soon as it's load, we want to disable this. So let's set this method is equal to false. Now, as soon as you click on this, so as soon as this selection here, it is not equal to null, we want to set this to true. So you want to set this to true. Okay. Let's try this and see. So in our main page, we have this set. So initially, when the page initializes, it's going to be false. So this is going to be disabled. Now, as soon as we select and there's a value here not equal to null, then this is going to be activated. So let's see. Let's refresh this. So you can see that when the page loads, we have select city is disabled. As soon as I check this, Ghana, and now they get selected. And now let's see. You can see this one is enabled now. So that's what you want to do. Now you want to, as soon as this loads, you want to pass in the ID of this Ghana to a method that we're going to create, and I get the list of cities from Ghana and display it over here. So let's go to the view model, and here let's create a method here. So that's going to be public, and there's going to be void. Let's make it async void, and this is load cities. And now here it needs an ID. So this we're going to pass in var cities is equal to await. Then we can have this dot services. There is a country service dot get city. So we have only, let's go in there and then create a city. So we go to the iCountry service. We have a task list of city. Let's pass in an ID of country. So country ID. Now go to this and now in here get cities. Let's pass in int ID. Okay. So here we can decide to move this to this side. So with the interface, let's remove that and also that. Let's see. Okay. Now in our view model, let's get all cities here. So dot cities. Okay. Now we can just make a set here. We can do something like, let's cut this. Okay, and so we say cities, we paste it here. And now we're gonna say cities. You know, this city here, it is an observable collection that you have here. Dot add. So dot add range. Dot add range cities dot where. Now you're gonna pass in ID. So I max to I dot ID is equal to this ID. Then you're gonna have dot to list. So dot to list. Okay. So we grab all cities to this object. Then we're going to make a set here and I'll add it to this city. But first of all, we have to check. So if cities is now, then return. Okay. And we have to also check if the cities dot count. So dot count is greater than 0, then let's clear it. So we don't have duplicated cities. So equal to 0, the greater than 0, then let's clear. So we say cities dot clear. Then we add this. So let's save that. And now in here, as soon as we check and we call this, let's call this load cities method. So we call this load city method. So this load city method, we can pass in. Let's find this first and see. So now there's not here, that is here. Now, so this needs a parameter, and now we're going to say that. So let's take off this one. Let's take off this ID. And now in here, let's use the public variable that is a selected country dot ID. Let's use this. Now let's save this. And after that, let's call. Okay, so after loading city and selected, let's make a call to this. So we come to the display name here, and now we want to you want to display selected city. So let's also create a public variable here. And now this variable we can use city. Then we say city. So selected city. Then on top of this, we can use observable property. So let's go to the country list here, main page.xml, and now instead of binding countries, you're going to be binding cities, and you're going to be name. When we go to the city model, we have name, so that's what you're going to use over here. Let's select city here. Now before, as you can see from here, if country is not selected, city is disabled. As soon as we select this gets enabled. So let's see. Now select Ghana. So now let's select country. Let's go for Nigeria, and now let's see. So we have two cities in Nigeria, Lagos and Abuja. So now let's have a method to display what we have here as soon as it changes. So we come to down here, and now let's put it as, let's say this is relay command. And now down here we say public async, or this could even be void. And now this is display selected city. Okay, now let me correct this. So in here you can now check if selected city so if such city is not equal to null, then we want to, if it's not equal to null, then you want to display an alert. So let's say cell.current.display an alert, and now we say this is selected city, and now we display selected city dot name, and we have our button as okay. So this method, let's copy this method. Let's go to the main page. So main page, and now let's add a button here. So we add button, and now we say test is equal to, let's bind not, so here get city, and the command we say we put it as a binding. So let's paste this and add command to it. Save this. Now let's refresh. So let's see. Now get city. If I click on it, since it is null, it returns. As soon as I select Ghana and I select Bekum, I click on city, and I can see I have the city selected here. If I change this to Nigeria and I choose this as Abuja, I click on it and I get the name selected item here. Alright, so that is it. Now when you have an API or you want to just grab the data from the API, it's quite simple. You just have to go to the service, country service here. So instead of having this list here, you can just grab the API, very simple way. Okay, so that is it. Now, if you want us to get data from the API, I have a video down there, and I'll show you how to get data from the API. So I will leave it at the description. You can check it up out there, and you're going to see how to get data from the API from your service specified here. I will also put this link at GitHub, so you can just go in there and grab the code. So check the description and you're going to see a link over there. So click on it and you can have the source code. Thank you so much for watching. If you think this video or this lesson is helpful to you, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to, please just subscribe. And if you have any issue to, put it at the comment section and we'll attend to you. Alright, so that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and I'm going to catch you up